Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. It's another live show on another evening, and welcome. You are very, very welcome. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. We're talking DC. We're talking entertainment. It's been another huge week of entertainment news. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite TV show? Are you into DC, which we predominantly talk about here on Movies TV Mad? And get involved with the conversation, because we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Hopefully, if people come in, we can have a conversation, and that will be fun. And I'm asking, is James Gunn good for DC? And that's the $100 million question, isn't it? Is James Gunn good for DC? Is he the right one to save DC, to turn it around, to make it a huge entertainment IP, to make it something that people want to watch? Is this the plan that gets DC to being successful? Is he the right man? Is Peter Safran the right man? James Gunn and Peter Safran were already involved in DC, of course. Peter Safran has produced many DC films up to now. James Gunn wrote and directed The Suicide Squad and its sequel, Peacemaker. So they were already there. So that's an interesting situation as well, I think. Is he good for DC? Well, I think only time will tell. I think the slate looks interesting. The slate looks good. The slate looks fresh, new. The kind of slate I would expect from someone reconstructing this franchise. So I think it's good. But ultimately, it's just a bunch of titles at the moment. And I think lots of things, there's still question marks for sure. And we have to see if this thing is going to work. There's question marks about James Gunn. There's a lot of people who don't like James Gunn. There's a lot of people who do like James Gunn. And that's all part of the territory these days as well. So, yeah, we have to wait and see. We have to see. Should James Gunn write and direct a Superman movie? I'm absolutely surprised that he's the one writing the Superman movie in a lot of ways, and surprised that he's going to direct it. It looks like he will direct it, but he may not direct it. We'll have to wait and see. I think, look, considering he's writing the thing, he probably needs to direct it as well. I think the reason he has to direct it is because if he doesn't, he's going to have to be on the set and on location anyway, because this is such an important film for DC Universe and James's career. This is the entry point for DC Universe. This is the one that absolutely has to work. Superman Legacy has to work. It's the most important thing, because as I say, it's the entry point. So if Superman Legacy wasn't to work, finito. It's a bit like Man of Steel. Man of Steel was a divisive movie that didn't help the rest of the DCEU. So you've got to start in a good footing. There's lots of people who loved Man of Steel, but there was lots of people who didn't like Man of Steel. And that created huge issues. It wasn't a darling. It wasn't Iron Man. Iron Man was a darling. Iron Man 2 wasn't so much of a darling, but because Iron Man was a darling, that helped. But saying that, The Force Awakens was a darling when it was released. And then we had The Last Jedi, which wasn't a darling. So just because you have one good first entry point, it doesn't mean you're going to hit a home run for the rest of the franchise. You have to do your due diligence, and you have to not be complacent. And you have to put as much effort into the rest of your movies, the rest of your content. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So Superman Legacy is so important in what type of movie this is going to be. And so what kind of film will Superman Legacy be? What will be its story? What will be its villain? The first chapter is titled Gods and Monsters. So I would expect maybe a god and a monster in this movie, because this movie sets the precedent of the rest of the franchise. I think this is a brand new franchise. This is not the DCEU. This is going to be something really, really new. and I've got a few theories on what it could be, and also who should be James Gunn's Lex Luthor as well. That's going to be an interesting situation. Who will he cast for Lex Luthor? There will be a Lex Luthor in this movie, in the DC universe. I'm sure of it, but it won't be Jesse Eisenberg for sure. And should it be Jesse Eisenberg? No, I don't think it should be Jesse Eisenberg. I like Jesse Eisenberg. I think Jesse Eisenberg is a generational talent. There's no question about that. But he ain't Lex Luthor. And I think that's pretty obvious to see. So, yeah, we will get a recast because, as I say, this is a new universe and there's going to be some interesting things. You know, I think there will be cameos. I think this is not just a Superman movie to introduce Superman. This is an introduction to a brand new universe. So there will be other characters from this universe being kind of cameoed and being represented in this movie. It's an introduction to the DC universe and not just to Superman. So a very, very important film. Scott Edwards, what's up, Mick? Good evening, Scott. What's up? What do you want to talk to me about? Some people are coming into the chat finally, coming into the live video. I've been talking to myself for about 5 minutes. I think I've been doing, if you look back on the video, I think I've been doing really well. I can talk for Europe. I can talk for America. I can talk for the world. But yeah, so that's the thing I want to discuss as well tonight. What is Superman Legacy? What is it? What is the aim of Superman Legacy? What does this film need to achieve? And what it needs to achieve is not just create a relatable Superman, which we really haven't had in a Superman movie since Christopher Reeve's Superman, if we're being honest. Now, in terms of live action, I think Tom Welling was a very successful popular Clark Kent. I think Dean Cain had his fans as well. I think Tyler Hoechlin also has his fans. Scott Edwards, man, I'm so hyped for Mandalorian Season 3 and Ashoka. What about you? Yes. Very hyped. I think that Mandalorian Season 3 will be very Game of Thrones type. I think it will be all about the power struggle for the Darksaber. And once I saw the Season 2 finale, I thought that was exactly what we were going to get. But going back to Superman Legacy, yeah, this is not just going to be a Superman movie. This is going to set up a brand new universe. And I think that's brilliant. I don't think really that Waller is the entry point for DC Universe, and it'd be interesting how many more chapters of James Gunn's Suicide Squad, universe we get. Maybe Waller will be it. We'll have to wait and see. Waller was happening even before James Gunn got the keys to the DC Universe kingdom. So that's an interesting situation as well. Scott Edwards. So Jason Momoa is still Aquaman. No, I think he will be phased out, Scott. I think he will be phased out. I think all the DCEU actors will be phased out eventually. They don't have to bother with them straight away because we're getting their movies this year, but I think everyone will be phased out. I believe that James Gunn and Peter Safran's DCU is a totally brand new timeline, totally brand new universe, and I think all these original actors will be phased out, but slower. The reason you got the announcement about Henry Cavill being replaced is because Superman Legacy is the entry point. It's the first movie, and he had the intention of not using Henry, so that's why they made that announcement. Scott Edwards, excited for the start of the Flash and Batwoman crossover arc this week. Glad you're excited. Not really a fan of that version of Batwoman. I love Batwoman in the comics, but that is in the comics. Well, not the good comics Batwoman. So yeah, I don't really think many people were asking for a Batwoman and Flash crossover, but I'm really happy that Stephen Amell and Grant Gustin will be on screen together. Now that's a crossover I'll be looking forward to, and I'll definitely be watching that episode whenever it is. But I have very little interest for Batwoman crossing over with the Flash, and I'm just not sure who asked for that. It's not really like they really have much of a history together. So why should people turn up and give the CW record ratings for that? But Green Arrow and the Flash, they started off this universe. They are so important to a lot of people, and people are genuinely hyped about seeing Stephen Amell coming back. Scott Edwards, are you going to watch the Mandoverse to get ready for season 3? I've seen the first 2 seasons. I've seen the obviously the Boba Fett stuff with Mando and Grogu in, so I don't really need to watch any more of that. Will I rewatch seasons 1 and 2 of Mandalorian? Maybe, maybe not, depending if I've got the time. I'm all caught up in terms of what Mandalorian is and what Mandalorian's been doing so far. So Mandalorian is the thing I'm excited about. Ahsoka is exciting as well. And I think, I think the stuff that Kathleen Kennedy's doing, not interested. But the stuff with Mandalorian is very exciting. It's the best thing since the sequel trilogy. I think it fixes a lot of the situation as well. Scott Edwards, but you still need to see the Boba Fett finale. It's awesome. But it's not. I don't think it's as important. I think Boba Fett will be involved in terms of appearing in Mando. I'd be very surprised if we got another season of Boba Fett, because I've always said Boba Fett is not a strong enough character to be in his own world, and it proved it with the Boba Fett show. Didn't work. Didn't work for me. Didn't work for most people. But Mandalorian is fun. Ahsoka's going to be awesome. And that is what I'm looking forward to. Io Pereira, for me, no, it's not. They should continue the Snyderverse. And after JL Part 3, they start building a large universe with direct for new projects, new characters to be presented, and not this reboot. I mean, listen, entitled to your opinion, but that's not what's going to happen. They felt that the Snyderverse didn't work. They felt the Snyderverse was problematic, didn't make them the money they wanted. And they are going to go for this reboot. This reboot is happening. And we have to wait and see if it works or not, and if it can bring in the money that the Snyderverse didn't. Thank you for your thoughts there, Leo. Appreciate that. But it's not going to happen. I do like the Snyderverse, but I'm not sure having the Snyderverse as a central universe for the general audience is the right place for it. I think there's a place for it in Elseworlds. There's a place for it over on Netflix, maybe. But as a central universe, it wasn't working. Basically, they were making content for the wrong audience. And so I do like the slate that we had so far. I think it's interesting. I want to see I'm excited for a brand new Superman movie. I'm excited for a brand new Batman movie. I'm excited for a Supergirl movie. I'm excited for a Swamp Thing horror movie. I think these are really exciting things for any DC fan who's not maybe got their loyalties with one director, but maybe is generally a DC fan, and these things will be very, very exciting for them. Scott Edwards, are you hoping for Black Lightning and White Canary in the Flash series finale? I would imagine that the Flash series finale, my friend, won't be a crossover and will be about Barry Allen and the Flash, because after all, that's what the show's called. So I wouldn't really want too many crossovers in the series finale. I mean, maybe they'll make it an Arrowverse series finale. I still think that'll be a kind of mistake, because I think we want to focus on the Flash. This is his show after all. I know you like the crossovers, but this is about Barry Allen. This is about the Flash. This is about finishing his story off in the right way, as far as I'm concerned. And so I don't really think White Canary would have a place in a Flash series finale. I wouldn't want a bunch of crossovers in the Smallville series finale, which we didn't. It was Clark's story, and it finished, well, we'll say it finished in the right way. I do have issues with the Smallville series finale, plenty of them, not as much as the shit they did to Tom Welling's Clark Kent on Crisis at Infinite Earths. That is not Smallville canon for me, and never will be. Superman should never quit being Superman to become a house husband. That was fucking ridiculous, if you ask me. Pathetic. Never let Berlanti get hold of your universe. And I don't blame James Gunn and Peter Safran for booting him out of his Green Lantern show. Squadrons, Mando is awesome in the Boba Fett finale. Check it out. I'll check it out, especially now I know Mando's in it. But that's the problem. Mando's awesome, but Boba isn't that awesome, and that's the problem. Boba Fett, not Boba the YouTuber. That's the problem. Boba Fett doesn't work as a character in his own world. When they were talking about giving him a movie, I just felt, who's interested in that? I think Boba Fett's always been a very overrated Star Wars character. And personally, I never understood the fascination with this character. I thought it was kind of insane. And so, yeah, I do like the Snyderverse, but I do think we need a new direction. I think what they're doing is right. I think a universe that represents one story in gaming, animation, cinema, streaming, it's a good idea. And you're looking to attract a general audience. You're looking to make the DC stands who weren't serviced and represented in the Snyderverse to be happy. It's clear that many people didn't like the Snyderverse. It's clear the limitations the Snyderverse had. Abraham Herrera, you know that event where movie trailers are the main attraction and they play a football game to entertain people in the meantime? I think it's today. What, do you know what, Abraham? I'm a bit confused because I thought it was today and I said it on my pre-recorded DC Universe Daily, but then I saw a site say it's next Sunday. It's the Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm confused. I think it's next week. I don't know. But what will happen is if you live in Europe and you wake up tomorrow and if there's a Flash movie trailer, then great. And I'll do a reaction on tomorrow's DC Universe Daily. If not, regrettably, we'll have to wait till next week. So I'm not sure. John, when do you think Batman Brave and the Bold will be released? I think it will be released the year after Superman Legacy will be released. We know that Superman Legacy and the Batman 2 will be released on the same year. Now, personally, I think this is a bit, I would have preferred, obviously, for Superman and Brave and the Bold to be released in the same year, but it's not a deal breaker and it's not a big deal. Abraham Herrera, I'm confused too. I thought it was today. I thought it was today as well. And then when I read on Twitter on a site was saying, are you excited next week? Whatever that is. Or I don't know. A week's time, they said, which disappointed me because I thought it was today as well, Abraham. So I'm as confused as you. So if anyone can find out when the Super Bowl is, if it's today, Sunday, because America has just pretty much dawned into Sunday now, or if it's next week. I think it's next week. I don't know now. I'm as confused as you are, Abraham. I have no idea, and I wish I could help you out there. Because I'm genuinely excited to see the Flash movie trailer. Very exciting movie. Big year for DC. 4 movies being released. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the Flash movie, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman. I forgot what the bloody movie. Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Story co-written by Jason Momoa. What could possibly go wrong? We'll have to wait and see if Jason's actually come up with something good. I think there'll be environmental commentary because Jason's very passionate about the environment, which is great. And we'll see what he's done with that. But I thought it was today as well, yeah. Film Goblin, do you really think they'll bring the Snyderverse back for Elseworlds, or do you think the Elseworlds will be phased out? Right, Elseworlds will not be phased out. Elseworlds isn't a Snyderverse. Elseworlds is a place where you get to tell different stories that are not part of DCU. The interconnected stories on DCU are one thing, and then Elseworlds are another. For example, Teen Titans Go is labeled as Elseworlds because it's nothing to do with DC Universe. So Superman and Lois, I suppose you could call DC Elseworlds. But James Gunn has said anything new coming into DC Elseworlds will set a higher bar than the DC Universe. So you really have to have a good film and a good script to get in there. So it's not about Snyder. I have no idea if the Snyderverse will get into a DC Elseworlds, if they'll bring it in to that and allow it to happen. I have no idea. It's pretty much unlikely. I'd do it if I was in charge, but I don't know. I have no idea, but they're not phasing out DC Elseworlds. They've just announced it. The Batman 2, the Joker 2, they're all part of it. That's how good you have to be. You have to be as good as those movies and those directors to get into DC Elseworlds. That's the whole thing. Abraham Herrera, I forgot that John Wick comes out this year too. What a year, yes. John just looked it up, and Super Bowl is on February the 12th, which will be next week. So yeah, next week. So, yeah. Drake Player, how do you say it's not? So I was wrong. I misinformed you all on the DC Universe Daily today. It's next Sunday. We'll see the Flash trailer, not this week. Drake Player, how do you think the gaming will work in the DCU? Well, what James has said, he said the gaming is part of the story arc in DC Universe. So basically, they're going to use, it's basically the gaming is going to be as a part of the interconnected franchise as well. So you'll probably get a Superman game based on Superman Legacy. You'll probably get a Brave and the Bold game, things like that. And that you could get clues about this kind of story arc that they're doing. I think it's a really good idea. So, I think so probably like when Superman Legacy releases, a game for Superman Legacy will release around the same time. And, the game will help sell the movie and the movie will help sell the game. So I think that's what they're going to do. Abraham Herrera, the Snyderverse will be canon. It's just that the Flash will mess with the timeline, just like the end of the Apocalypse War. So what's going to happen is, they're using Flashpoint. So when Barry goes back to the past, when he goes back to the original timeline, originally it was going to be slightly altered. But I believe what they're doing now is using Flashpoint, the Flash movie, to create a totally brand new DC universe. Film Goblin. The reason why I asked if they will phase out the Elseworlds slowly is because I think they only want one connected universe without confusion. Right, I think you're getting confused. You're confusing yourself, Film Goblin, right? They've only just announced DC Elseworlds, so why would they phase it out? That's the point. DC Elseworlds is just being announced, right? So they're going for it. DC Elseworlds will, and as James said, you have to, it'll set a higher bar than DC Universe, and you're going to get directors like Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips in that portion, making HBO Max stuff, HBO stuff, films for cinematic release that have nothing to do with the connective tissue. That's the whole point of having a DC Elseworlds. So why would they phase something out that they've only just announced? Phil Goblin, will you buy all the gaming for the DCU? Yes, I think I would. I think how it works is if I like the DCU and what they're doing, I would definitely buy the games. Drake Play, I'm curious, what will happen to the Wonder Woman game? Well, there's a Wonder Woman game meant to be coming out, and that's an interesting situation. I suppose they could call that game DC Elseworlds. I suppose. I think it's coming out. I don't see why they would cancel it, but who knows? They may cancel it, but considering there's no Wonder Woman movie coming out anytime soon, unless they announce it for Chapter 1, Part B, which I believe we will have a Wonder Woman movie in Chapter 1, Part B of the new DC universe, and I don't think it's going to be starring Gal Gadot. We'll see, but I think they're going to recast Wonder Woman, and there will be a Wonder Woman movie, and I believe that Paradise Lost is a tie-in to that Wonder Woman movie. I believe that The Lantern Show is a tie-in to a Green Lantern movie also coming in Chapter 1, Part B. So I think we will get a Green Lantern movie for a theatrical release. So we will get a Wonder Woman movie for a theatrical release, but in Part 2 of Chapter 1. Because I think Chapter 1 is a very, very long chapter. Because we're looking at a 10-year arc, right? So there's a lot of stuff to come. Lots of stuff to come. Because there'll be lots of stuff released in 1 year. Like TV shows, movies. So yeah. But they could cancel that Wonder Woman game, Drake Player, because it may interfere with what they're planning. It's interesting. They could try and tell. Yeah, it's an interesting one, that one. It is a good question, Drake Player. I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, it's not something I was overly excited about anyway. I think a lot of people, a lot of DC fans have been hungry for a Superman game for a very, very long time. And I'm hoping the Superman Legacy game, which I'm sure, I think there'll be a game for a lot of the movies, especially the ones being released theatrically. And I think definitely Brave and the Bold, and I think Superman Legacy would be a great game. So it'd be interesting what they would do there. So again, very, very good idea to attach gaming that represents this one story arc as well. This is something no one's ever done. I don't think there's many MCU games out there, is there? So very, very interesting. Also, to set up animated stories and streaming shows and then use the same actors for the live action versions of that animation is also a very, very ambitious idea. So this is when people say to me, this is bad, this is mid. When you hear the ideas from James Gunn and Peter Safran, they sound interesting. But ideas are one thing, and as we keep on saying on this channel, execution is another. So as it's very boring, but I say this all the time, we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see. We have to have all of the information. We have to start getting content before we judge it. And people calling it mid because they've got an agenda doesn't make something mid. You may find the announcements mid, but again, how can you find a Superman movie, a Batman movie, a Swamp Thing horror movie, potentially directed by James Mangold, as mid and underwhelming? That proves you have an agenda, doesn't it? Come on. How is that not? How can any DC fan not be excited? It means you're not here for DC. You're here for a director. You're here for an actor. And that's up to you. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying, yeah, it's not really DC fan behavior, though, is it? I mean, you're a fan of a director, then you're not a fan of DC, right? That's up to you. That's up to you. It's up to you what you do. It's up, but I can never do that. I love Snyder. I love the Snyderverse, but I'm not here for Zack. I'm here for DC, and I'm here for entertainment in general. I'm not here for one bloody director. That's ridiculous, that would reduce my enjoyment of entertainment if I was only here for one director. And I mean, it's a crazy world we live in with all this stanning of directors and actors, and so one-sided and so reductive, I think. And it's a shame. I think, you're a fan of that director's DC movies. You're not necessarily a general fan of DC, and that's okay. Superman the movie made me a DC fan. Smallville made me an even bigger DC fan. But I'm not just here for those things. I'm here for other stuff as well. So I think the plan that they've got for DC Universe is an interesting plan, an ambitious plan, and I certainly am excited for it. We're going to have to wait for the content now, unfortunately, because they have to make it. And yeah, I mean, there are, look, developing games is very, very difficult, and games can be delayed very easily. So I think that's why they haven't announced any of the games yet. And I think it's a clever move not to announce any scheduling dates for the games yet, because games are really hard to develop and produce, and they really do take a long time, because you want them to make a really good game. You don't want them to be rushing to make some half-assed shitty game. Games are very different than animation and live action. Drake Player, I see them releasing one Elseworld movie and 2 DCU movies per year. Yes, I mean, it's interesting. I think it'll be interesting what we see in 2025 for DCU. So we're definitely getting Superman Legacy, July the 11th, 2025. The Batman 2 is a DC Elseworlds. So you've got an Elseworlds movie and a DCU movie, but you're probably going to get other content in DCEU over at HBO Max, unless they sell some of that content off to another streamer. But I think there'll be streaming stuff as well. But there could be one more movie they announced for DC Universe as well. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. I think James Gunn's going at this as to say, right, we're going to make the stuff. I mean, as you can see, from what I can see is the only thing that's got a date on it, from what I can see, is Superman Legacy. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he announced any other dates for the other stuff. So that's interesting. The only thing that's got a date is Superman Legacy, and that's because Superman Legacy is forward in development. Nothing else has been developed. There's not a writer or a director announced for Batman Brave and the Bold. He hasn't said if he's writing and directing it or someone else is. So that's an interesting thing. I think maybe someone else will write and direct the Brave and the Bold. I'm not sure who he would get. I mean, imagine Bruce Timm writing and directing Brave and the Bold. How amazing would that be? John, Avengers and Fantastic Four is also coming out in 2025. It is, yes. So that'll be interesting. But that's not really something that, I mean, look, I love the Fantastic Four. I've watched Avengers films. I like the MCU. It's okay, but yeah, that's not to my excitement level. But yeah, obviously, there's going to be a lot of competition, but I don't think those films will release at the same time as Superman Legacy. If they did, bring it on and let's see who wins. It's going to be a very, very interesting battle. But yeah, for the fans, it's a very exciting year. But my focus on a year that a Superman film's released, my only interest really is Superman. And obviously, I'll be very excited to see the Batman sequel from Matt Reeves and whatever they release on HBO Max. But my focus on a year that, as a Superman fan, a predominant Superman fan, that's where my focus is going to be. You know, I'll be talking a lot about Superman Legacy on this channel. If I'm still here and alive and I've still got my channel in 2025, that's where my focus will be. I think that's where a lot of fans' focus will be. People are very excited about Superman Legacy. And yeah, and I mean, it's great that MCU stuff's coming out, but that's not even secondary to me. That's not even fourth or fifth or sixth league to me. That's just, yeah, that's out and that's cool. But, you know, Superman's coming out, baby. The most important thing. Drake players, Superman will win because Avengers and Fantastic Four will go woke. Be very interesting if Phase 5 and 6 will be as, let's say, triggering to some people as Phase 4 was. I don't think those films. I mean, listen, it's an interesting situation because I do think, for example, I mean, I don't know what event is it the Kang Dynasty that's Avengers the Kang Dynasty? Because I'm looking forward to the Kang Dynasty one, and so I don't necessarily think that they're going to be woke. But I don't think that's the problem with the MCU. The MCU is still a very, very popular franchise, and I think people are very excited about Kang the Conqueror as well. For Superman to beat Marvel, it has to be a terrific movie, a Superman movie that everyone's been asking for, and something that's not controversial, that does the right things for DCU and for the character of Superman. Abraham Herrera, the fact that they are calling it Legacy is a jab at Cavill's Superman. Hopefully they pull it off. I don't think it's a jab at Cavill's Superman at all. That's like saying Man of Steel is a jab at Brandon Routh because they're trying to say he's not a man of steel and he's a man of whim. You know, no, I think maybe you're being a little bit paranoid there, Abraham. I think it's called Superman Legacy because it wants to set out who Superman is to justify him being a good guy. They've spoken about that. He's truth, justice, in the American way, Peter Safran said. And people see that as old-fashioned. So they're going to justify him being a pure-hearted hero and why it's important that he's a pure-hearted hero. But I don't think they're taking a jab at Henry Cavill by calling it Superman Legacy. I just think they want to get it down there who Superman is going to be in this legacy. He's going to be pure. He's going to be a good guy. He's going to be the Superman I believe he should always be, and the Superman that will make him relatable. And that's why they're calling it the Superman Legacy. So it's a good title, but we know very, very little about the film. It's going to be somewhat inspired, I think, by All-Star Superman, as James has kind of hinted about. But yeah, I hope they pull it off because I love Superman. So I'm here for DC. I'm here for Superman. I don't have any loyalty to any particular version of Superman. I love the character more than anything, and I don't have any loyalties to an actor who's played the character or director who's directed the movie. But obviously, if I had loyalties, it'd be to Dick Donner, who gave me Superman the movie, and that's the reason I'm a Superman fan. I wouldn't be a Superman fan without Superman the movie, and there's lots of nostalgia for me towards that movie as well. So yeah, John, it's Avengers Kang Dynasty first and then Secret Wars. Yeah, Kang Dynasty is going to be very good and Secret Wars is going to be very, very good. So as I say, the DCU stuff and even the Batman 2 will have to be very, very good to beat Marvel. So we'll see. I don't think it's important to beat Marvel. It's important to get the best box office they can and make the best movies. You make a great movie, you get the box office. It's simple. You don't make a good movie, you don't give the public what they want, the box office isn't going to be good. So make a great movie, great story, great characterizations, and the box office comes automatically. But I don't think it's important to beat Marvel. I think it's important to set the first DCU movie, Superman Legacy, on the right footing and introduce this universe. And I think that's what he's going to do. And we're going to see some other heroes in this Superman Legacy movie, I feel, as well. So, yes, bring it on. Very exciting. So as we get closer to that movie and closer to 2025, I think next year will be huge. Will they start production this year for Superman Legacy or next year? If it's released in July of 2025, it could start going into production at the end of this year, which I assume maybe is what they'll be looking to do. So they've given themselves loads of time to make a great Superman movie. Abraham Herrera, it will be interesting to see who they cast. It will, but whatever actor it is, the character will be wearing the actor and not the other way round. Well, Superman is bigger than any actor. You know, I think Christopher Reeve is pretty huge. I think he was the first one that really made an impression, although at the time, George Reeves made a huge impression back in the 50s in the Adventures of Superman. And there's no question about that. But yeah, I think, when you're playing Superman, there's a huge pressure on you, mainly because he's Superman, but also because Christopher Reeve was so damn good. And Dick Donner did such a great job in the 70s of making a great, stunning movie, but that was as emotionally powerful as it was epic to see. But it's always the character is huge. Superman is bigger than any actor, any director, and it's Superman who will always be remembered over any director or any actor. He's bigger than all of us. He will be here when we're not here. And he's such an iconic and important character to me personally and millions of people around the world. And, as you say, the casting will be extremely important. And it's important that the public don't reject that casting. It's going to be difficult because some people will reject it straight away because he's not Henry Cavill. Drake Player, since that one source got the July the 2025 date right, plus the Lady Gaga Harley rumor, it will probably be Jacob Elordi as our new Superman. Well, when James Gunn reads this stuff, he says, nope, I haven't started anything. So we have to believe that. We have to believe that he's not chosen Jacob or anyone else. But if it is, we'll wait and see. I don't know anything about that actor. So again, but according to James Gunn, he hasn't even gone into the casting process yet. Abraham Herrera, I remember when I saw Superman Returns, I actually liked Brandon Routh. When Cavill became Superman, I liked him too. Not to mention Christopher Reeve, so the character is bigger than all of them. Absolutely. And I was so excited for Superman Returns. There's nothing more exciting than the build-up and marketing to a Superman movie. I remember getting excited when they were building up Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. And I'll be honest with you, when I saw it in the cinema, I didn't feel disappointed. I enjoyed it. It's only later on from the internet you find out that film is not supposed to be a very good film. Of course, massive problems, under-budgeted. It is a film with problems, but there's something really exciting when they're building up to a Superman movie. And Superman Returns marketing and build-up was brilliant. I enjoyed the trailers, and I loved the movie as well. And Brandon Routh was absolutely fantastic. And I was so excited he was getting the sequel initially. Superman Man of Steel it was going to be called, and this was going to be a Brainiac movie where ultimately he disguises himself as Jason, Superman's son, and Superman Brandon Routh kills his son by accident. So it was going to be, Bryan Singer described it as a Wrath of Khan movie. So I'm really disappointed that didn't happen. But I do like Superman Returns. Yeah, Superman Returns, look, wasn't perfect, but it was a very good film. And I would have loved to have seen more of that franchise. And it's a shame it didn't make enough money. Again, it wasn't a divisive movie. I just feel that some people found it boring. So people demanded more action. Zack gave them more action. They didn't like the destruction. They said Lois Lane was too old in Man of Steel. They said Lois Lane was too young in Superman Returns. You can never please people, and that's the problem. Be interesting who they cast as Superman. Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Jimmy Olsen. These are iconic characters, and the world is watching. James Gunn is going to be scrutinized so much. He's writing this movie. He's probably directing it. He will never be as scrutinized as he's ever been. So I hope he's prepared himself. I hope he understands, and I hope he doesn't start kicking and screaming like a little baby when people, have opinions about what he's doing. This is Superman. This is not Guardians of the Galaxy. This is not Marvel. This is not the Suicide Squad. This is not Peacemaker with someone wearing a toilet seat on their head. This is Superman, James, and you're going to be scrutinized whether people feel you're making good decisions or bad decisions. You're going to have to take it on the chin. This is Superman. This isn't an average character. Superman is as big as fucking God, whatever God you believe in or no God. Superman is bigger than Jesus Christ. Superman's bigger than fucking anything. So you're going to get scrutinized, James, whether you like it or not. So, oh, sorry, Abraham. You've written something here. Let's have a read. Abraham Herrera. I actually appreciated what Bryan Singer was trying to do. I did as well. With his homage, the bullet going into his eye, beautiful in the trailer. I thought the hype was real, but then I found out people didn't like it. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not influenced about what people thought. I was disappointed that it didn't make the money and it was beaten by one of the Pirates of the Caribbean films. But I like the film. I think it's a solid film. I think a lot of the CGI is stunning and brilliant. The bullet in the eye, the aeroplane save sequence is absolutely stunning. But in the end, when he's flying over Earth, he looks really fake. So I think some of that film was rushed. And also we have this return to Krypton sequence, which is a deleted scene, which really should have shown at, post-opening credits. That really showed his struggle going back to Krypton, feeling disappointed, not finding his people. So when you get to the other scenes, it would have worked more powerfully, because the synopsis for the film originally was basically from outer space to the depths of the ocean. And that was a really good synopsis for the film. But I did appreciate what Singer was trying to do. First of all, I was so excited that it was a sequel to Superman 2. I don't think it was enough of a sequel of Superman 2. And, I think if it really felt like a sequel, I think it would have worked in a huge way. So I think Bryan did get some things wrong. But ultimately, I think you can watch that film as a standalone Superman movie and enjoy it. Brandon Routh is outstanding. I thought Kate Bosworth was solid as Lois, even though most people don't like her. I thought Spacey, and we're not talking about what he's done in real life. We're talking about Kevin as an actor. I think he's maybe one of the ultimate Lexes. I think he looks great bald. I think his performance is very strong. He doesn't feel like Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, who he's supposed to be. Ultimately, Kevin said himself, he modeled himself on Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor. So that's a big compliment to Michael as well. But I have a lot of time for what Bryan Singer did. And Bryan Singer was a big fan of Dick Donner's Superman the movie. He became a director because of Dick Donner. Dick Donner and his wife were producers on the X-Men. So Bryan really had a lot of time for Dick Donner. But Abraham, I really do like Superman Returns. And I mean, I can nitpick about it, but ultimately, I had a good time. I saw it 3 or 4 times in the cinema. I think it was a solid film. And, reading the lead script for the sequel, I was very excited that we were getting Brainiac. I mean, Brainiac enters the Earth. At first, Superman's showing him around. And then it's only when Brainiac says, why aren't you dominating these people? Why aren't you conquering these people? That's when they fall out. It was going to be a huge Wrath of Khan kind of movie. And I'm really sad we never got to see, because it was green-lit. That then we had the Writers Guild of America's writer's strike. Then WB changed their mind and decided to start all over again with Superman. Drake Player, I hope he doesn't kill off Superman since he keeps on posting about All-Star Superman. Drake, this has been a huge concern of mine, a huge concern. He says it's just an inspiration, so hopefully he doesn't. If he does that, me and him are going to have a huge problem. Leo Pereira, I'm not fully convinced if James is the right man to stay behind in the DCU. Yeah, look, I think, Leo, at the end of the day, no one can say he's the right or wrong man at the moment. I think to have doubts, that's fair enough. And once we see the content and see what he's actually doing, because we still know very little about what's going on with this new universe. So once I've tasted the food, I'll be able to tell everyone if I like it or not. Abraham Herrera, if you think about it, nobody has been universally well received except for Tom Welling. That's why I really hope they pull it off. Yeah, I think like Christopher Reeve, universally well received, of course. George Reeves was universally well received. I think Dean Cain had his fans, and I don't think people either watched it or they didn't. I think Tyler Hoechlin has his fans. So I think there's been, but I think, yeah, universally received Tom Welling and Smallville by most of the fandom. I mean, even that series had people who weren't happy with some of the canon breaks, but I just thought it was very interesting what they did, having Lex Luthor being in Smallville as Clark's growing up. But by the way, that was inspired by a 1960s Superboy comic when Superboy and Lex Luthor meet, and Superboy and Lex Luthor become friends, but then he gets really jealous of Superboy. There's a chemical accident and he becomes bald. And Smallville also is inspired by Superman for All Seasons by Jeff Loeb, who worked very for many seasons on Smallville as well. And Jeff Loeb worked on Heroes. He worked on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Marvel TV. Absolute legend. Ronnie Dodge. Hey, Mick. Hey, Ronnie. How you doing? Ronnie Dodge, what have I missed? You've missed so many conversations, my friend. So many conversations. We're asking if James Gunn is the right man for DC. We're talking about Smallville. We're talking about Superman. We're talking about Superman Legacy and what type of film that's going to be and how it's going to introduce this brand. Because I think it's a spanking brand new universe. I think once we leap into that universe, it's going to have very little to do with the DCEU. Abraham Herrera, James Gunn is what we have. So the best we can do is support him at the end of the day. We can at least be sure that he's a competent creative. Listen, he's been saying all the right things, as has Peter. He was absolutely right when he said Cavill was dicked around. He was absolutely right that WB were handing out DCIPs like mints to whoever smiled at them. These are things that we've been saying as fans when we were fighting for the Snyder Cut. He's saying what everyone's saying, that he's trying to create an interconnected universe, but he's also allowing, DC Elseworlds. So that gives us the best of both worlds. What they're saying and what we're seeing in their planning looks fantastic. But until we see it being executed, we can't really have any judgments on it. But I do think James Gunn is a smart guy. And I think he genuinely loves film, genuinely loves entertainment. He also said that entertainment's deteriorated in the past 30 years. And I think he's absolutely on song and accurate with the number of years he said it's been deteriorating for as well. And part of that is rushing out scripts, starting productions when the script's not finished. He's absolutely bang on. Ronnie Dodge, week until the Flash trailer. Yeah, I thought it was today, but it's next week. Can't wait. Leo Pereira, it's me or Superman Legacy sound more like an ending movie instead of one beginning, not necessarily an origin movie, but the first on this new universe. So Superman Legacy, Leo, is not an origin movie, and most fans don't want an origin movie anyway. Basically, this is Superman in his second year. This is not Superman at his ending. This is Superman who's just starting out in the DC universe where heroes do exist. And I'm okay with that. That sounds interesting. Ronnie Dodge, I feel James will be great for DC. Fingers crossed, Ronnie. Drake, Gunn makes normie movies, so I'd accept the DCU movies to make a lot of money, but as a high quality as the Snyderverse. Drake player not. Abraham Herrera, and if Guardians 3 is as good as the first two, then he'll be one of the few who have a perfect trilogy right up there with Nolan. It's going to be interesting because he's been getting into it with some of those fans. People have been saying, don't kill Rocket Raccoon, and he's kind of saying, well, if I want to kill him, I will kill him. If that's, because that's his favorite character. That character means a lot to him. He read the Guardians comics. He likes those characters. I mean, Rocket is brilliant. Bradley Cooper is brilliant. It's Bradley Cooper, I think, who plays the voice of Rocket. So I think he will do a great trilogy. I really do. And I think he does know what he's doing. I think he's a competent creative. Abraham Herrera, the Christmas special was very endearing. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Look, whether you like him, whether you approve of the historical tweets, and how could you? But in the end, we have to, obviously I've read those historical tweets and they're bad. I can't defend the historical tweets, and people have to make their minds up. Are you going to refuse to get involved with this DC universe because he once did and said some really seriously fucked up shit? Or are you going to say that we all do these, well, not that kind of thing, but we all do stupid things and say stupid things? I mean, I don't know how you find yourself to say the shit that he said. I mean, but he said it, and it's bad. And Warner Brothers are happy to use him, and obviously Disney brought him back. But yeah, he's apologized for it, and I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to ignore what he's done in the past. Obviously, if anything else came out for present day, that will be a different situation. But for now, I'm going to go with it because they're all problematic in Hollywood anyway. You're never going to find the morally virtuous creative or actor in Hollywood. Ronnie Dodge. James knows we have seen Superman origin story so many times. He does. Ronnie Dodge. I mean, I don't mind seeing it again, but a lot of people don't want to see it. Ronnie Dodge. Guardians fans need to realize with the Suicide Squad, no one is safe. Yeah, obviously, Ronnie, I think the Suicide Squad and Guardians are two very different things, but I get your meaning. Nobody was safe in the Suicide Squad apart from Harley. Drake play. If Gunn's DCU flops, do you see Comcast buying Warner Brothers Discovery? I don't think it's. I look. What the thing with the Comcast thing and the Warner Brothers Discovery thing? It was a rumor that came out, and it's basically 2 and 2 makes 4. So at that time, Warner Brothers Discovery were doing really badly in the stock market because of the previous leadership, and because there's a big financial loss when you first merge companies. It's a natural thing. So they heard a rumor from somewhere that in 2024, when it can be sold again, that Comcast are going to come in, swallow it up. This is what I don't want. I don't want a 100-year-old proud company, proud studio with so much entertainment that's been part of my life to be swallowed up by Universal and Comcast, who are a problematic company anyway. And, you know, I hate this word woke, but they're as fucking woke as it gets. So I don't want them anywhere near Warner Brothers. So I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think DC flopping means that Warner Brothers would be sold. It would hurt Warner Brothers. I don't know what would happen to them because this DC IP needs, for them to start becoming a successful company. This DC plan really needs to work, and it certainly would be curtains for James Gunn and Peter Safran. But at this moment in time, with what's been announced, I don't see any red flags. In terms of the slate, I don't see any red flags, right? I see it as a first good step, and we'll have to see if it's executed in the right way. Abraham Herrera, well, sometimes a character dying is better send-off. Don't get too caught up in that. Listen, people are going to have opinions. For example, Dexter. If you're a fan of Dexter, you know that they brought back Dexter, and I don't know if you saw it. Spoiler alert, they killed off Dexter, and they're planning to do a show about his son. And that disappointed me. And some people are saying, well, he had to get his just desserts. But ultimately, I don't want Dexter to die, so I didn't agree with that. But hey, people are always going to have disagreements with storytelling and narratives, and that's okay as long as you're constructive about it. A Drake play. It would be cool to see DC superheroes at Universal Studios, though. No, you mean the theme park. I don't want it. I don't want Warner Brothers to be swallowed up by another company just so when you go to Universal Land, you can see some DC heroes. No, I mean, that's your opinion. Again, entitled to that opinion. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but no, I want Warner Brothers to stay an independent studio. I don't want it swallowed up. Warner Brothers is my favorite studio. I grew up on Looney Tunes and so many different things that Warner Brothers gave me in my life as a kid. That's very important to me. I don't want a great 100-plus-year-old company to be swallowed up by an extremist company. Thank you very much. Ronnie Dodge, I feel lanterns will be like Lethal Weapon. Well, that was the original idea by David Goyer. So, yeah, let's see what they do there. Ronnie Dodge, I just finished reading All-Star Superman, so good, but I understand James using it as an inspiration because that is the perfect Superman. Yeah, let's hope he doesn't kill him at the end of the movie, and I'm fine with him using that story because it is a fabulous story. Make no mistake. I saw I've got the animated movie, and it's cool, but they do cut some bits out, I think, like these animated movies do. I don't know why they do that, but they do. But yeah, it's a great graphic novel for sure. And let's see what he does. But killing off Superman isn't an option. So let's hope that's not what he's looking to do. Unless he's going to use a Superboy. I don't know. Very interesting, isn't it? Will there be an adult Superman? And will there be a John Kent Superman? Will Lois and Clark already be together? I doubt there'll be a son in it, because we're only talking about the early days of Superman. So it'd be unlikely that he's got a son. Unless we got Connor Kent, unless we got that Superboy, which is an experiment using Superman's DNA and Lex Luthor's DNA. So yeah, very, very interesting. We'll see what happens there. There's all guesswork at the moment. We don't know what's going on with that film, but it's the first entry point for DC Universe, and it's ever so important. It's going to be very important for James Gunn. James Gunn's really gambled his career here. This is, he's really got himself involved with something huge. It's a big responsibility. He's making enemies amongst these Snyderverse fans. So what he does has to be airtight. And we'll see. It's interesting. He's very confident on his own ability. James Gunn has always been confident of his own ability. So he clearly thinks that he can pull this off. Ronnie Dodge, he said it's just tone and feel for All-Star Superman, and Clark will be 25 in Legacy. That's what he said, yeah. So hopefully, yeah, that's what it's going to be. So, yeah, it'll look great, that's for sure. Abraham Herrera, Mick, do you think Constantine will play an important role in Gunn's universe because he played an important part in the movies you recommended to me? Well, considering, and we've spoken about this already, considering they're doing a Swamp Thing movie, and Swamp Thing and Constantine have got a huge connection. They're part of that Justice League Dark universe, but I'm not sure if Swamp Thing is part of the interconnected DC universe or if it's an Elseworlds film. So he wasn't very, very clear about that. So I think somewhere along the line we will see Constantine, whether it's in DC universe or in Elseworlds. So somewhere he'll turn up, because he's a very important character. Ronnie Dodge, Snyderverse fans will never be happy with what James does. Never. They'll be going after him forever. They'll never stop. Ronnie Dodge, James Mangold doing Swamp Thing is exciting. Now, that's why I'm wondering if Swamp Thing's a DC Universe movie or a DC Elseworlds. Sounds like something that it could be a DC Elseworlds movie. But he wasn't really, he said, because he did say it's outside of what we're doing in DC Universe, which was interesting, but he didn't call it DC Elseworlds either. Abraham Herrera, Constantine actually saved the day in Apocalypse War, and he convinced Barry to do another Flashpoint. Yeah, that's an excellent movie, isn't it? That really is an excellent movie. I really like that because it kind of reminds me, because back then it was the early days of the Flash movie in development. I thought, wow, this would be so cool if they did this in a live action movie. So I love that, Abraham. I love that movie. Ronnie Dodge, James said it's outside of DCU main story, but a part of the DCU. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's outside of the story, but it's part of DCU, which is weird within itself. But hey, we have to wait and see. That's what, because he goes, yeah, it's outside of the DCU main story, but part of the DCU. So that means not all the films will be part of the story. Interesting. He's going to have to elaborate on that one. I don't mind some films not being part of the story, but clearly, yeah. So that's part of DCU. So I think they'll use Swamp Thing to introduce some Justice League Dark characters as well. Gods and monsters. Swamp Thing is a monster, but he's a monster, I think, who kind of joins the good guys ultimately. But I'm glad we're getting Swamp Thing again. That shows you that these are the right things to do, a Swamp Thing horror movie. Why would you be underwhelmed by that? Ronnie Dodge, James did say that the lanterns discover in the series is part of the main series. I wonder if that will be Darkseid. Right, so Lanterns is about Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart investigating a mystery. Now, that mystery is unraveling the story arc of chapter 1 of DCU Gods and Monsters. So, I mean, it could be anything. I have my doubts that he's going to bring Darkseid in, but again, I could be wrong. There are plenty of other gods that could be involved in this first chapter of DC Universe. Abraham Herrera, Batman being Darkseid's right hand was amazing. Oh yeah, that was nuts, wasn't it? I just wish Batman would have snapped out of it on his own. But I like the movie very much. Yeah, these animated movies are great, Abraham. John, I think the biggest movie of this year will be Mission Impossible, Fast and the Furious 10, and Super Mario Brothers movie. I think Mission Impossible will be huge because I think Tom Cruise would have won even more fans over with Top Gun Maverick. Not that he needed any more fans because these Mission Impossible movies were making lots of money anyway. But I think Mission Impossible could be maybe the biggest film this year. Maybe we're not going to have superhero movies be the biggest movies of the year anymore. So I think I think the fast movies always make good money. I don't think the fast movie will make as much money as people think, but I think it will do well. John Wick is popular, a bit like the Mission Impossible films, automatic box office. So John Wick will do well as well. Abraham Herrera, don't underestimate John Wick. Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah, John Wick's going to be huge. Foregone conclusion, lots of money, very popular franchise. It's going to do it. Ronnie Dodge, Joker 2 seems to be the only DC movie next year. Yeah, Joker 2 will be the only movie, but I think what you'll see James's animation, some animation coming onto DC Universe on HBO Max. I think you'll see maybe I think we're going to get Waller next year. I'm not sure. But I think we may get Waller next year. I don't see it happening this year. And don't forget, the Penguin series, which is only going into production now, probably won't come out till next year as well. So I still think we're going to get a lot of DC content, whether it's on streaming or released through the theatrical system, Ronnie. Drake Player, the biggest will be the Rise of the Beasts and the Flash. Rise of the Beasts, I don't know what that is, Drake Player. And the Flash movie, going to be interesting how that does. DC movies are very unpredictable. Ronnie Dodge, Waller series maybe for next year. Yeah, so that'd be something else we get next year. Bat Super, I hope we get Batman Caped Crusader this year. Yeah, I don't know how further forward they are in doing that. Ronnie Dodge, seeing Keaton one more time will be emotional. Yes, Michael Keaton will be in the Flash like it was always going to be, but he's been cut out of the ending because he's not going to be the new universe's Batman. I personally think that's a good thing. I think 20 years ago, a few years ago, when he was younger, I would have been really up for all of this, but he's too old to be the main Batman. That was just a lazy idea to just get people excited for the universe. Drake Player, it was nostalgia bait, wasn't it? Drake Player, what happens to my adventures with Superman? Oh, that silly animation they were going to do? I don't know, but I'm certainly not bothered about if I ever see it or not. John, Transformers Rise of the Beast. Yeah. I don't know. Am I excited about another Transformers movie? I'm not sure. The trailer certainly looked encouraging. We will see. I think definitely Mission Impossible will be, I think, the biggest film of this year. John Wick 4 will be another huge film this year. And then as for the superhero stuff, I don't know how they're going to do. It's going to be interesting how the public respond to the superhero stuff out this year. Ronnie Dodge, I'm so excited for The Brave and the Bold. I saw Batman and Son animated movies yesterday. Really good. Oh, yeah. Very, very good, yeah. I think I saw that. That's a recent one, isn't it? I've got it on Blu-ray. Yeah, that is a good one. I really enjoyed it. I think that's the one with Superboy and Damian Wayne, isn't it? I think you're talking about that one. And Superman and Batman are in it. It's pretty cool. Bad Super, if Batman Caped Crusader does well, maybe we will get a Superman animated series. It would be amazing. I'd be very, very surprised if we don't get the actors who are going to be in Superman Legacy to also do an animated series. He's going to do both things. I think that's extremely exciting. Drake Player, I see a lot of similarities between what Bay did to Transformers and what Snyder did to DC. Yeah, I think they're very similar directors in a way. I think Zack has more depth to his filmmaking, but the style of filmmaking it's about the optics, isn't it? It's about the visual effects. So yeah, I can see the similarities there. Ronnie Dodge, yeah, Damian Wayne. I wonder if he will be a teen. Well, apparently he's going to be a tween, which will be 11 or 12 years old, so slightly younger. Ronnie Dodge, oh no. John, will a lot of people go to see Aquaman 2 on Christmas Day? That's the big question, isn't it? Will they boycott because of Amber? Are people going to be interested? Apparently, Batgirl actually tested better than Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and Black Adam as well. So that's interesting. So be interesting how people receive Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. We haven't had a trailer for that yet. So again, once we see a proper trailer, then we can form our minds up. But yeah, I hope people like it, and I hope people. Look, I don't know what else is out this Christmas, so it'll be interesting. It's all about the competition, but also it's about the film itself being good enough to be successful. So you're asking me, will a lot of people go to see it? Well, if it's a good film, of course they will. Ronnie Dodge, I'm expecting Andy to post on Instagram this week about the trailer. Yes, I would expect him and Barbara to come out of the woodwork and start talking about the film a little bit more. Maybe slightly early yet. Obviously, the girl who plays Iris in the Flash movie has been speaking a little bit. So I think that slowly but surely all these interviews are going to start to come out, because they did these interviews ages ago because the movie was supposed to be released ages ago. So yeah, the marketing will start very, very quickly. I think after Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the build-up will begin. Abraham Herrera, Aquaman made $1 billion. It's safe to say it will at least come close this time around. Well, you never know. You never know. I mean, if it's a good film, of course it will. But if it's not a good film, it may not. You know, lots of sequels have failed from a really good first movie. I mean, especially when I was growing up, sequels weren't that good. So, yeah, I hope so, Abraham. John, have you ever seen the movie The Day After Tomorrow? I have. It's okay, nothing special to me. Ronnie Dodge, probably get a first official poster this week before the trailer. Yeah, they always release the posters, don't they? So I would expect a poster at least, and then probably at the end of the week. I think I would expect that definitely at the end of the week. So that's exciting. We're finally going to get promotion on this movie going. I think they'll release this trailer. I think they won't talk about it as much. And then once the Shazam! Fury of the Gods has had its run, then we can really roll on with that marketing. And they'll have 2 solid months to promote that movie. But it's exciting. I mean, the Flash movie is something I've been waiting for a very long time. And the postponements were very, very frustrating for all of us. Drake Player, do you see the Flash taking a back seat in the DCU like Green Lantern did in the DCEU? I think what's going to happen, I think because we're getting a Flash movie this year, I don't think the new universe will introduce a Flash straight away. I think we'll get there eventually. So you could be right about that. Yeah, maybe. I don't think a back seat. I just think he won't be introduced straight away, but I could be wrong about that. But it depends where and when this new universe is set as well. Ronnie Dodge, what if Jake Gyllenhaal played Bruce? He's a very good actor, but I mean, it could be anyone, couldn't it? Well, we're looking at a Batman who's around 30 years old, or just slightly older than Superman, because that's what James has also said. I think Jake Gyllenhaal's got to be around 40, maybe more. So, unlikely. Abraham Herrera, it will be strange to promote a movie without the lead actor. Has that happened before? Well, that obviously Brandon Lee's The Crow had to promote their movie without the lead actor. That's because he was dead. I think this is a very strange situation, but they've already started plugging that he's in recovery, so they can use that excuse. Personally, I'd make the little fuck promote the movie. I'd make him do it. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but I think he should promote the movie. I don't see a reason why he can't. Because let's be honest, they're not actually mentally ill, are they? Let's be honest about it. John, and the Flash movie has gone through so many directors. Yes, obviously it started with one, then another, but they've been different films, and so these things. But the thing is, John, these things happen in the industry. You go through a few directors sometimes. That's normal. That's not a strange situation. This thing with Ezra Miller is a very unique, strange situation. If they can manage to market this film, they're lucky because they got Michael Keaton. So he can sell the movie for them. So that, he's more important in a way in terms of marketing than Ezra Miller. Ronnie Dodge, I feel Ezra will do promotion in the USA, but not abroad. Maybe you're right there, yeah. I wouldn't want to ask too much of the poor soul, would we? Sarcasm. But yeah, personally, I'd make him do all the promotion. There's nothing wrong with him. He's fine. And, we need just to get through this movie and then we can move on from him. And I think that's exactly what the studio are planning on doing. But they can't say that yet. Abraham Herrera, I think they will find a way for him to promote the film without giving interviews. Maybe. I think he's in some video footage already where they can use him. So he will be involved in the element of the marketing. But he's literally in every scene of this film. So there's no excuses. Oh, he doesn't have to do it. He's the fucking Flash, right? He should be promoting this movie. There's no excuses. Now, I know Peter Safran said he's focusing on his recovery. That's BS. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with them. That's just, that's just to get through this movie. I think once this movie is done and dusted, they will let go of them. They will let go of them. That'll be it. Now, if this film was to make around $2 billion, which is unlikely, but who knows, then I think maybe they would have to retain his services, or their services, should I say. But yeah, who knows? But I think he'll do an element of the promotion. That's for sure. I think he should do it all. I think it's important. I think it's important for the film. But this is Hollywood. They'll find. Look, Hollywood can do anything. Hollywood can do anything. They get away. They know how to get away with things. So they'll hype the movie up. As I say, they've got Michael Keaton. So that's very important for the film. You've got Michael Shannon. You've got Ben Affleck in this movie. There's lots of different people who can promote this movie. So that's exciting. This film does have a lot of different exciting elements to it. I mean, to have Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton in this movie is really, really exciting as well. To have Michael Shannon in this film is really, really exciting. John, was The Flash filmed in the UK? I think The Flash was filmed in the UK and in Scotland. I think that's where they built the Wayne Mansion, if I remember rightly. Ronnie will be able to tell you that because Ronnie got involved with all the post-production stuff. So, well, he wasn't involved in it, but he knew about it. So I think they filmed a lot of shit in Scotland, and I think they also filmed in the UK. It was a big, exciting production. We got a lot of set leaks at the time. We saw Sasha as Supergirl, and it was very exciting at the time before the problems started. But it was clear that Sasha Calle was going to replace Henry Cavill. Supergirl should never replace Superman. Superman and Supergirl should be standing together, as they will be in the new DC universe, and that's quite right too. You're watching Movies TV Mad with me, Mick. We're live here from Cyprus, talking DC, talking entertainment. Abraham Herrera, and they will most likely P-Note and Andy Muschietti to direct one of the most important films in Gunn's slate. Maybe the Superman Legacy movie. Well, THR believe that James Gunn will direct Superman Legacy, but who knows? I think if the Flash movie is successful, then Andy Muschietti could have a future within DC Universe. And if it's not, he will just vanish. That's how Hollywood works. John, the Batman was filmed in Liverpool. That's right, the Batman was filmed in Liverpool. I think what they do is they look for locations that look like the places. So that's what happens. So they have location scouts. They go and look everywhere for the right buildings, and they keep on looking until they find what they're looking for. And that takes months and months and months. So yeah, so they were in Liverpool because that's what they needed for what they were trying to do. So I think the Batman 2 probably won't start filming to the end of this year either. But the Penguin show has started filming now, which is exciting. So I think we've still got a lot of stuff next year for DC, mainly on HBO Max, but it's still very exciting. The Penguin will be a huge thing. Personally, I think the Penguin should have been a cinematic movie rather than a series on HBO Max. But that's me being biased because I don't have access to HBO Max. And I think we're going to have to wait for a DC Universe casting for now. I don't think we're going to get anything at the moment, but who knows? James Gunn could surprise us. I think we're going to have to wait a while for Superman Legacy casting because he claims he doesn't cast until he's finished the script, and he's certainly still working on the Legacy script. But there's plenty of time for that film because it's not out till 2025. So they have given themselves a lot of room for maneuver. And that's always important to make sure you make the movie in the best way that you can. And of course, there's Paradise Lost on HBO Max, which is the Wonder Woman prequel, which also sounds very, very exciting. So I think there's so many things to look forward to in terms of DC. I really do. I mean, we've got the films this year, we've got the Joker 2, we've got the Penguin series, we've got other stuff coming. And then obviously 2025, we're going to get a couple of DC movies. God knows what else will be on HBO Max that year. So yeah, it's all, but we don't really have much of a schedule. Apart from Superman Legacy, there's no dates attached to most of this stuff, apart from the Batman, of course, the Batman 2. And we know Joker's coming out next year as well. So, yes. And I think Joker 2, if I'm right, is coming out in October of 2024. Like the first film did, I think. Abraham Herrera, Matt Reeves also has a perfect trilogy with apes. Hopefully he'll get his Batman trilogy complete. Hopefully, now, of course, Matt didn't direct the first Planet of the Apes film, but he did do the second and third film. The second film, I think, is definitely better than the third film, but still the third one was very, very good. He's a very good writer-director, of course he is. And again, it's all about money and box office and how the second movie will be received. I think he's got lots of plans for his Batman universe, which is part of this new Elseworlds as well. So he's got the platform to do it on, but it's all about keeping the people wanting more. But there's no reason why all that can't succeed. The first movie was extremely good, very unique. To tell a story about Batman with very little action, but still make it interesting and have that tension and still have those great characterizations. It was a great leaping off point for Matt Reeves' universe. Very important. And it's quite an achievement as well. And there was a lot of movie theatres still shut down when that film was released. It still brought home 750 million globally, which was very good. John, there was a 2020 TV series called Paradise Lost. I don't think that was anything to do with Wonder Woman, though, was it? So Paradise Lost is actually based, I think, on a Wonder Woman graphic novel. Abraham Herrera, Paul Dano is underrated in Hollywood, but I'm glad he gets a lot of work. Yeah, Paul Dano is a very, very good actor, Abraham, very good actor. And it is Paul Dano who's written a Riddler comic as well, hasn't he? Which is based on the Batman. So that's exciting as well. He's a very, very talented guy. And hopefully we see him in the universe again. Who knows? We may see him in the Penguin series, considering that series continues a week after, narratively, after the Batman. So it's all very exciting. The Penguin really is a kind of direct sequel to the Batman in a lot of ways. Right, guys, we're going to wrap up the live video. It's been another great evening talking to you all. So if you've got anything to say before I go, let me know and I'll respond to it. But it's been another great live show. Of course, I'm here every evening with a live show. And of course, during the day, we do have a DC Universe Daily every day to catch you up with the news and views and whatever I want to talk about DC. So I'm here a couple of times a day. Great coverage, I think. Love talking DC, love talking entertainment, of course, and it's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, brilliant. So I'll hang on a few seconds just in case anyone has anything else to say before I wrap up the live video. It's about 11:30 at night here. So yeah, it's time for Betty Boys, cup of tea, shortbread biscuit. Oh no, I do live on the wild side, don't I? But I do love a shortbread biscuit. They are so nice. Not good for you, but nice. But logically, I'm excited with what's going on with DC. For me, that's logic to be excited about what we've heard last week. I think it's exciting. I think it's cool. So, yeah. This has been Movies TV Mad and the live evening show. I'm your host with the most, Mick. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you tomorrow for the DC Universe Daily. And then I'll be back. Same place, same back channel. Here on Movies TV Mad to talk DC and entertainment. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.